So welcome to episode 2.5 or 3, whichever way we decide to label this, of 3-Bar Exploits. This is WhackMed19. I'll be your only, what we have is a normal primary host here as we get started with this another podcast here. And TacticalOyster is still out of the country. Jazz had some prior responsibilities, but we do have for your listening pleasure tonight, after great, wonderful feedback from the last, from episode 2, Bonfire with us.
Howdy, everybody.
And Jules.
Happy to be back.
Yeah, how's it going, everybody?
I do have to apologize for the sound quality. I am the only one that sounds like they have a super wonderful golden microphone because of the way we have to record it. Still working on some technical difficulties, but we will get those straightened out in the future, and we are always striving towards actually getting some video chat going. Today, the topic is, as we record this, E3 is going on, and so that is the biggest thing in the world right now to probably everyone who watches or listens to this podcast. And in E3, as we record this, PlayStation 4 has just finished with their, Sony has just finished with their press conference. So we've seen Microsoft, Ubisoft, and PlayStation 4, or some of a little bit of each.
Don't forget EA. EA was there too.
I didn't get to catch any EA.
I didn't watch it either, but I got some of the highlights, and they had some good stuff.
I find that
EA is definitely coming out swinging this year.
Oh yeah.
Well, good. That's good. When we get there, I really am interested in hearing about that. The first thing that we have slated to talk about is the consoles, the Xbox One versus the PS4. This is probably the highlight of E3. It's where we all have said that we expected to get our answers from, and we got some really good answers and some really big disappointments, in my opinion. And the first thing is, did you guys catch the shape of the console of the PS4?
Yeah, it looks really weird. But I will say this: it looks like you can stand it on its side, unlike the Xbox One, and that's kind of cool because I know some people do that. But yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, parallelogram or something. It's weird. It just doesn't seem right, but I guess that's what they're going for.
Have you had a chance to see it, Jules?
I have not yet, but I'm actually gonna try to see if I can't pull it up on my tablet here.
It's
yeah, dude, just pull it up real quick. It's probably on the top of like any gaming site.
It's terrible. It's the Xbox One at an angle. I was watching the Twitter feed as I was watching the reveal or the E3 event, and somebody tweeted out that it was the Xbox One in italics. Because
yes,
it was
I saw that as well. I did see that as well.
That's what it looks like, and that's an accurate description of it, though. That's White Boy is espousing. He is trying so hard to stay in the PlayStation Nation. I wish they'd just go ahead and, when it dies here soon, we'll welcome him over to the Xbox coalition. But
to the dark side.
I will say this though, even though it is like an italicized console, it looks a little smaller than the Xbox, and I think that's a plus because the Xbox One, even though it does have the sleek finish, I like the finish and I like the new logo, but it looks like a VCR, and I can't get over that. I'm just gonna say it.
Oh yeah. The prices were also revealed. Did y'all catch those? Somebody want to speak to that?
Yes, that's what I was waiting for, to be honest. Cause so you guys know the Xbox One is going for $499, and the PlayStation 4 is going for $399, and that's big news. So PlayStation is undercutting Microsoft. Let's just say it.
Big time.
Yeah, and that was actually a point that I had written down to talk about, is that if you're a parent buying a console for your kid, which is the boat that maybe half of the purchases are going to be in. You know, to be honest, half the purchases that are made may be parents for their kids that never care about seeing it, and $100 difference is huge.
Yeah.
But
it's very big.
Yeah, and what we were talking about just before we started the podcast was what it actually means to sell at a loss. Do you want to talk to that?
Yeah, but on top of it, they're doing what Xbox Live is doing with Gold. So you have to have PlayStation Plus to play games online.
Right.
I think what their plan is to make up some of that revenue that they might be losing initially for the console in the subscription-based service, which to me is a no-brainer for them, and I think will do very successful because the PlayStation Plus program, I don't personally have it because I'm mostly an Xbox guy, but I know it's got some great features with a lot of free games for not only your PlayStation 3 but the Vita, and we saw Xbox and Microsoft say, now that with Gold you're going to be able to start getting some free games as well. So, the more and more it's going head to head with those subscription-based services, and I think that's how they plan to make up some of that revenue.
Yeah, for those, I'm having some more mic troubles. For those of you who don't know, sorry about that. For those of you who don't know, when a console is made, it costs much more to make it than it does than what they're charging for when they sell it. IGN is, I think it's IGN, Inside Gaming, is trying to make, from the components that are listed out, individual consoles. Obviously, they won't have the operating system, but that's a software thing. They can replicate all of the hardware, or nearly all of the hardware that goes into each of these consoles. And they're over $1,000 or at $1,000 trying to build both of these consoles from sites like Newegg and just wherever they can scavenge the cheapest parts that are exactly the same as what is going into the PS4 and the Xbox 360. So if you were going to buy these consoles for the parts, they're $1,000 consoles. So why is it that Microsoft and Sony are selling them for $499 and $399 respectively? It's because they're going to make it back in the gaming sales, in the online the PlayStation Plus and the Xbox Live Gold sales. So they're going to make all that money back. It's an investment in saying, if I get you on the hook, I can get more money out of you. And that is a working model, and that's how it's always worked since Nintendo came out with the 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System. It was sold at a loss. So
yeah,
they're going to lose money in every console they sell. And actually, with the bulk that they order, it may not be as much of a loss as we think. It may, but it's still somewhat of a loss. Sony doesn't make money. They have, for, 2 years now, reported to their shareholders, who are the people that actually matter. They've reported to their shareholders losses in every quarter for 2 years, except for one, and that's when they sold off. They sold a division, and that's not how you make money. You don't make money by selling a division of your company. That's going out of business and getting what you can to leave. But these prices, Microsoft gets undercut, and I think that is a huge blow initially, and it's going to be something that they're going to have to catch up with. Can they catch back up with PlayStation? Jules, you think they can catch back up?
I think, respectively, with Sony's fan base, they'll make a good turn, I think, on selling consoles, but I don't see them making that money back as Xbox goes. I mean, you have your hardcore Xbox fans that, of course, they're going to buy the Xbox One, even for its $499 price. But looking at just what the PS4 holds, there are certain things that the PS4 holds that are better than the Xbox itself. As far as a graphics card and engine, slight differences. Now, of course, then you got to look at it in terms of price between those two. I just don't see PS4 making that money back. I mean, for a few years down the road, if they're going to undercut Xbox drastically, and $100 cut is pretty drastic in my opinion. Especially with PlayStation offers a lot of things that are just exclusive to PlayStation, but they're not making a huge profit. So I don't think it's going to really help their deficit on that, and Xbox just the vast amount of things that Xbox does offer. I mean, I know they're going to make. I'm pretty sure that they're going to make their money back tenfold as they have in the past. EA being huge, like I said before when we started, EA is coming out swinging this year, and that they have a huge partnership also with Xbox is also going to be a huge thing, and something huge to play in Xbox's favor as far as revenue coming back into Xbox. They can afford to take that loss.
Yeah, well, and I also think, talking about losses, you also have to look at the companies as a whole, because they don't just make games. I mean, like, Sony makes TVs, computers. Same with Microsoft. They got Office and Windows, which is huge. So I think they can afford to make losses because they're making money elsewhere within the company, so they can afford to do that. And it's just a balancing of the entire company as a whole, as opposed to just a gaming division.
I wonder if coming out at $100 a head or $100 more than is a really, really bad move for Xbox. I almost wonder if Xbox gave away the Xbox, if Microsoft literally gave it away, or charged $100 flat for the console, they would steal the entire. They'd steal probably 80% of the entire American market, probably that much of the European market, if they just gave away their console. Now, can you take a loss on 1 million consoles? I don't know that they have the liquid assets, the actual cash on hand, cash in the bank account, to be able to do that. But it would be interesting to. I think they should have. I think that at whatever cost it was going. I think they should have come out lower, gambling that Sony was going to charge $350. That they should have come out $100 under that, just to make sure their console was in more homes. I think that would. I don't know. Go ahead.
Actually, I think in Xbox's favor, because their base of the main company, that Microsoft owns them, or that they belong to Microsoft. Microsoft is a computer company, and I think that's what a lot of people are getting away from, like not really thinking about. But they're a computer company, so they could actually decrease as far as the price goes for the Xbox One, and still not take a major hit. A lot of things that's coming out as far as the Xbox One and how it's built together is with things that's coming out of their own company, like they own these things. Now, minus I think a few things as far as like the graphics and processing goes. As far as it's a lot of these things they own, so they're not taking a huge loss or cut by any means in any of those things. I also know that Microsoft, I believe, also has stock within NVIDIA. So I mean, a lot of money's coming back to them. So in the end, it's really going to be. I don't think Sony is going to take a major hit as much as we think they may in profits. I think Xbox is definitely going to be hurt more so by the price of the system more than anyone.
Yeah, I think
it's still not saying a lot.
Yeah, I think the price is going to have a huge effect in this overall thing, because for me personally, just as a consumer sitting back, I mean, like I said before, I'm more Xbox. Xbox 360 is my primary console. I do have a PS3, but I mean, it seldomly gets used, minus a few exclusives. So I was leaning towards, the Xbox One, because that's what I currently have, but I wanted to wait for the price, and Sony's pulling me with that price because it's a little bit more affordable. You can take the extra $100 you saved, get a game or two, and you're already ahead of the game, as opposed to the Xbox One. I think a lot of people will feel that way, especially since you look at the economy. It's quote unquote getting better, but there's still a lot of people out there that's rough, and I think it's a great move by Sony, and I don't want to get into it next. I know we're heading there, but the whole DRM and used game thing, I think, will play a big factor in that as well. And
okay, so
like I said, I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah, but write that down because I actually don't have it written down. But to kind of continue, in that line of thought, both Microsoft and Sony talked about the last generation consoles and continuing to make games for that. Actually, both consoles have a whole year of games. They actually have almost 2 years of games that are still being developed for both the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. So if you have both of or either of these consoles, you're still going to get new games for the next 2 years while you save up your money or you do whatever and prepare to get those games. Oh boy. So
that's a great point.
So what I'm actually wondering is, with all of the games that were announced for the PlayStation 4, a lot of those games go back to PlayStation 3. A lot of them go back to last gen. And I was actually wondering, we're halfway through the conference that they put on, and they're still announcing games that are coming out for both consoles. Why buy a PlayStation 4 if you can get half of their new content on the PlayStation 3? I think that's actually a not a wise move.
And on that, I have to agree, because the Xbox was the same way, and they were still preaching that they still have new titles coming out, new titles. And I don't know if you guys remember, PlayStation 1 and with the Nintendo 64, and then they moved on, and then we had the Xbox. And then they pushed out PlayStation 2, I think prior to the Xbox's release, actually. I don't remember a console still heavily making games for a previous generation console in terms of maybe a year, but not to 2 years out after a new console's release. I think that's actually going to hurt both companies more, because, I don't know, me in terms of a consumer, why would I buy a new console when I can retain my current console and still get these same games and new titles that are coming out?
Now, I want to interrupt you, Bonfire, before we go to your point. But what I mean by 2 years is November of this year being 1 year, and November of 2014 being 2 years. That's the fall season of next year is what I call where I'm benchmarking that second year. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, correct, but. What I was pointing to was, just in terms of, I do enjoy Sony. I enjoy the PlayStation. It used to be my go-to console for RPGs, in-depth RPGs, because I always felt that Sony had, as far as graphics was concerned, for those story-type games, was just, there was no comparison. But now we're moving into two consoles that are nose-to-nose. And of course, PlayStation, like I said, the graphics slightly better. Both engines are great engine. But now in terms of like the games that are coming out for these current consoles that we have, I don't remember any console prior to this where they were continuing to make new titles for the current console after a new console has been released. Or after it's been told, we have a new console. Normally, it's always been come the beginning of that next year, after that console's release, no titles for the previous console were coming out. Now they still have new titles that are coming out to go into next year for 2014 with release dates in 2014. And I find that to be kind of odd. I actually think that's going to hurt both companies.
Well, before we wrap up, I'll touch on this just a little bit, because I think it's going to go past 2014. So you look at the PlayStation 2, that console lasted 12 years. Granted, most of it was in Japan, once the PlayStation 3 arrived here in the U.S., but there was, still support, still development, and I still think this current generation will last a little bit longer than even 2014. And I think maybe it'll hurt them initially, but I think as we see that first year of the next gen consoles, we'll see more and more games strictly on the new consoles, driving sales for them. But I also think that both companies are doing it maybe just to make the whole transition, because this has been the longest console generation we've had for gaming. So I think they're doing that maybe just to make it easier for all of us to, move on to the next generation.
Now, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and talk about DRM and used games and stuff, but to lead into that, did you also see that in their presentation this morning, Xbox actually announced a new Xbox 360 console?
I did see that.
It's a Xbox 360. I don't know what the hardware specs, excuse me, actually they're exactly the same hardware specs. It may have a larger hard drive, but it looks like the little brother of the Xbox One. And go ahead and talk to that in the DRMs.
Yeah, well, we got the new 360, and again, I think they're doing that to still appeal to people who may not have that or want to upgrade. But I think the biggest thing we can take away is about used games, because it's such a hot topic. And so I think it was last Friday on June 7th that Xbox had, I think it was a press release or some sort of release information on how their always online is going to work and used games is going to work. And not to go into too many details, but taking from that, it's basically to where they said for used games and trading in used games, for trading in used games, that they're leaving it up to the publisher. And they said that Microsoft Studios games, you still can trade in your games, and there's no fee to do that. However, what they did say is that when you do trade in a game or you can gift a game, you can only do it once. And there's a couple other restrictions that we won't go into as well, but the other thing is when you buy a new game, it installs to the console to your specific account on the Xbox One, and then you can allow other family members on that console to play the game. But if you were to go to a friend's house and you're not on your account, and you even want to let him borrow it, he won't be able to play that game without purchasing it, unless you gift it to him. But a game can only be gifted once. So that's kind of what they're doing. As far as always online and DRM, and what DRM is, it's digital rights management. It's basically for the way for a publisher or a gaming company to check to see if your game is legit, that it is purchased and it is your copy under your account. And they said that Xbox One is always going to be basically always going to be on, because when it's off, it's in a low-powered state, kind of like your cell phone, where it's still on and you can always access it at any time, but it's just like in a hibernation sleep mode. And this is going to help with the instantaneous things, be able to just walk up to your Xbox and say Xbox on, and boom, it's there. So it's always going to be that low-powered state. And I think the big takeaway and the most conflicted thing that they said was that the Xbox One has to check in online every 24 hours. So this is where that DRM comes in. Yeah,
did you hear the outstanding amount of applause whenever PlayStation was taking punches at Xbox?
I didn't hear it again because I didn't watch the full conference.
That's worth looking up on YouTube.
I will. I plan on it.
Oh, that guy he gets up on stage and he says flat out, when you buy a game, it's yours and you can do whatever you want with it. And the place went nuts. I'm talking nuts. They're like, it's my game and I'll give it to whoever I want. There's no DRM. You get a hard copy of the game. You can sell it to your friend. You can give it to your friend. You can go let him borrow it for a month. And the way the guy termed the wording that he used was, it was nothing short of taking a knife and just poking Xbox in the ribs. And that's pure what that was, because they needed to do that if they want to make sales.
Which it is, and I definitely got to agree with that statement though from them. Is why if you purchase a game for a console, you would have to go through so much trouble just to be able to gift it or give it to somebody one time. Yeah, but I understand it in sales, as far as sales go, and what I think that they're trying to do by that is, once you buy that game, the publisher of that game whoever has the rights to that game only makes their sale or makes money back for that one sale from you buying. Now these games float around, and what it's doing is it's giving the money that's coming from those purchases now come out of their pocket.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they're doing it.
So
right, and it's like when we had conflict when you were trying to download music online. When we transferred from CDs to being able to digitally download music, and the music industry took a major hit, and then they turned around and said, you know what, we need to come up with a pricing scale, and we need to figure out how we can sell these songs online and still make our money in return. But now, like certain companies, I don't know if iTunes is doing this. I know Zune. One thing that they have is actually if you do not hook up your Zune within 30 days, you can no longer play the songs on your Zune because it says that your license has run out. But when you plug in, all it does is it renews the license. You're not paying any extra money, but they constantly keep track of it that way. And I think Xbox is really trying to bring that money and keep that money to them, versus trying to do all these resales that they're not being able to touch on.
So the big news,
you can't control it as well.
Yeah. So the big news is who does this actually hurt? And in the short term, this is great for the people who are going to purchase the PlayStation 4 because they have an element of freedom that really and truly most people don't use. You're fighting for freedom. If you want to fight for freedom, that's great. I'll stand in line behind you. If there's no reason to take away any kind of freedom that we already have, even if you don't utilize that freedom. Got no issues with that. But what I would like to point out is that Microsoft is allowing the people who make games for them to make more money. So, if you're developing a game, who do you want to develop that game for? And in the long run, it's going to be more beneficial for Ubisoft, for Bungie, for Gearbox, for I don't even know if some of these are still in business, but these game developers for Mahjong, it's going to be more beneficial for them to make games for Microsoft because they're going to make more money out of each individual game that they do create. So the big question that I'll pose to either or to both of you is, does that matter in 5 years? The money that the developers are not going to be making from the resales or the loss of resale money from PlayStation, is that going to matter in 5 years? Are developers going to start leaning over to Microsoft more?
I believe who it's going to hurt the most is the smaller outlying businesses that take in used games. I think they're going to be way more affected by it than anybody.
Oh yeah, have you seen GameStop stock? Have you looked at that? Do either one of you follow stock? It's a rock and a lake.
I see little things about it, and yeah, it's not looking good for them. And
already talking, they're starting to take major hits.
Yeah, closing stores and everything. Yeah,
right. By the time this is done, we're going to be looking at what happened to Hollywood Video? Oh crap, they're gone. Blockbuster tried to compete with making these little boxes, these dollar rentals.
So here's an idea. I'm not a financial advisor, but I will go ahead and throw this out just to interrupt the question that I asked to you guys. But if you own GameStop stock, it will bounce tomorrow.
I'd liquidate. I would liquidate right now.
Yes, absolutely. When it bounces and goes up tomorrow, because there's a silver lining, there's a ray of sunshine that PlayStation is still going to help us out. As soon as it gets back up to where you can afford to dump it or get rid of it, unload it, liquidate it, get your money out of there, because it's not. PlayStation's going to have bad news coming back.
If you want to keep any part of what you have in stock in GameStop or any other outlying company that deals in resale of used games, liquidate and find something else.
And do it
because right now it is not looking good. Come tomorrow, you might have lost that. You might have took at least a 3-point hit. It is looking bad.
Yeah, and So to kind of bounce off of your question after that awesome financial advice, I think what this means overall is that it's just like you said about music there, Jules, is that it's a push for digital distribution.
Right.
And that's what Microsoft wants to do, is they're pushing for digital distribution because it's a win-win for everybody. Because if you look at products like Steam, I'm not a PC gamer, but I'm very familiar with it, and people love Steam, and you're buying the game new. It's tied to your account. It's the same thing almost. And what is it doing to the prices? It's pushing them down because you don't have to create all that marketing material. You don't have to print games or discs, cases, all of that. It makes it cheaper for the company, for the publishers, developers, which is going to push it down for the consumers, and everyone's happy.
Push it down.
But,
Are you saying it's going to cost less than $60 to buy a AAA title?
Well, how did we get to $60 it might, and I don't know when that'll happen, because I think right now it's with inflation and everything, we've hit the $60 mark, and I think all the companies are scared to mess with that. But I think if we go more towards digital distribution, to where you just hop online, you download a game, you don't have to have anything physical, I think it will drop the cost down a little bit. And it could be even mean, and again, this is all hypothetical, is that what the amount you pay is going to depend on the amount of content you get. So if you get a game, let's say like Skyrim, where it's like 100, 200, 300 plus hours, that game could be, $60 or more. You get a game like, the short single player game, it's going to be, say, like Dishonored. That could be $30. So just throwing things out there, but it could come to that, and we'll kind of maybe you guys can answer this question that I kind of have, is that if everything went to digital distribution, and let's say even the PlayStation 4 enforced, DRM, and you didn't do the used game thing similar to Microsoft, would you guys be more okay with it if games were cheaper, less than $60? Let's say 40 was the standard.
I would say yes.
I think. Go ahead.
A big reason I see that is, like you said, with DRM, since they're making more of a bulk out of the profit now, with it turning to that, I wouldn't see the problem with the prices dropping for a new console game. Because one thing that I've noticed now with these two consoles, more so than any console before, is they're both screaming, "This is exclusive. This is exclusive."
Yeah.
And really, when they're saying exclusive, they really mean it is exclusive to that console, to that company. And because they're restricting your ability to pass these games off, they are making a bigger profit out of sales.
That's a good
by
point.
far.
That's a good point.
And now, before they jumped up to $60 because they still ran it off the old system that you could take a game, buy it, be done with it, and either say, hey, you can either give it away or trade it in and get a different game for half the price, possibly. But now it's, you sell the game, those rights are only to you. Now, if I look back into PC games, most PC games you put in, there's a code that comes with those PC games. That game is now exclusively connected to you. So I can't pass off a PC game. And PC has been raging. I mean, they've been going strong since consoles have even been out. And it hasn't affected their sales. And they're still busting out brand new titles for $40. But the reason they're able to do that is all those prices are exclusive to those companies. And you can go online and buy a code for the game, but you're actually buying the game. You may get the CDs for the program, but you're buying the game for that code. So you're paying $40 for a code.
Right.
And I don't see that as being a bad thing for Xbox. I think it'll take a good turn for them, and it might be a factor that may affect their sales, but not enough for it to really matter. I think it's just I don't see a problem with it. Like I said, PC's been doing it for years, and they've had nothing but. I mean, they have a huge fan base. I think bigger than both PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah, you could argue that.
I don't see a problem with however they want to sell and distribute their games.
But one thing I do see is a huge factor, and I don't know, like, this is going to kind of veer off into a different discussion now, but the deal with you have to have internet connection to use the Xbox One.
Yeah,
that I think is going to affect sales huge.
You don't have to do that for PlayStation 4, which was the same part and parcel of that discussion that guy threw out, and that they had the whole crowd, ready to riot against Microsoft nearly.
I believe that will affect sales more than anything.
I would agree with you, that and the fact that the Kinect is always on. I think for some reason these are really big deals, and I don't see them as big deals. I really don't. Because, when's the last time you let anybody borrow a game? It's not something that I do. I understand that the younger you are, the more likely that is to happen. But even when I was a kid and there had the 8-bit Nintendo, we didn't really let anybody else borrow. I mean, I had several people that were my friends and relatives that had the regular Nintendo, and other than taking RBI baseball over and playing it with someone else with them, it went home with me because I was the Grand Slam king, okay? And that's just the way it's going to work, And Mario 2, I had a really good buddy right up the road, like a mile from me, had Mario Brothers 2, and I had 1 and 3. He wouldn't come off that game to save his life. He had that one. That was one he had. And I'm like, come on, man.
I definitely have to agree on that.
So,
I used to be a big Sega advocate, and I would never really. I enjoyed the Nintendo, but as far as those games went, even being younger, I would take a game to a friend's house and it would come back.
Right. And you can still do that with the Xbox, and the thing that people are, like I said, it's a freedom that we're or having conversations about, and it's a freedom that it's a loss that Xbox may, with that and being undercut on price, they may be in a real bad situation because of the public opinion of something that they don't use already. So, as far as what they charge for them, I think when my mommy bought a Nintendo Entertainment System for me and my little sister in like 87, 88, something like that. 1987, 1988.
Careful, Whack, your age is showing.
That's okay. I don't care. I think the games were like $30, $35. So if you look at it really and truly, the game prices haven't changed except with inflation.
Well, if you notice, games dropped actually shortly thereafter. New games that came out in the little box sets, they dropped down to a brand new game being only $20.
I remember not buying a computer game because for a while I did some computer gaming, and I wouldn't buy a game that was more than like, I don't know, $25 or so. I would not do it, and that was me using my part of the market control and I'd say this is not where I'm going to spend my money. And I played some really stupid games, but that's a pretty good place for us to transition over. I think that they're going to stay $60. I think that actually they could go up 70, and I think that you're going to find more variance of price with Microsoft because of the freedom that they've given their developers, and you're going to find a pretty static price, which we've seen for years, staying with the PlayStation 4. But to move on, as these consoles came out swinging, they showcased some TV stuff. They showcased some Netflix, Skype, a couple of this and that they do, but they got out of that quickly and they moved on to these are games, which is what E3 is supposed to be about. Games. It's what we want to know about. And one thing that I saw both consoles do, and I don't know, we may be breaking news here for somebody who didn't pick up on it, what I saw both consoles do in different games was you switched from your single player mode, your campaign by yourself, and seamlessly there was an integration of co-op, much like you find in Borderlands 2, where somebody can just join in anytime they want to, and the campaign adjusts to having Dead Island, where they adjust to having more people there. You don't have to fight over the one monster. Now there's going to be 3 because you can work together. Whatever. Then it seamlessly also integrated into a multiplayer where not only is it me and Jules and Bonfire fighting against the boss on the level, but there's a rival gang that comes in and you can choose to interact with them. There's no lobby, there's no waiting, there's no search. It's just, I see them, they're in my game, I'm in their game, and we can say, let's throw down right here, right now, let's do this. There was a car game that did that. There was, what's the futuristic one that's coming out? Destiny. Destiny did that. I want to say that The Division did that, but I don't remember them going all the way to multiplayer. Yeah, they even at the end of that they even went to multiplayer. But
the whole thing was multiplayer.
That was co-op. It started as co-op, and they actually had a guy flying some kind of drone come in, paint a guy, and he's like, "Hey guys, I gotta hop off," and he leaves.
Yeah,
and
that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a really cool. We'll get to that game specifically here in a little bit, but both consoles in several different games, which means that the developers know about this and are trying to use it to our advantage. This is something that you're going to see. How does that change the landscape of gaming? Big question.
Yeah. Well, it's all going towards kind of a MMO type thing, the massive multiplayer online games, to where you can drop in, drop out, and I just think that's what people want. They want to be able to interact with other people and then maybe go off and do your own thing. And what the new consoles are doing is they're making that one seamless experience, and I think that's going to appeal to more people because you can still hop on and do your own thing. So it's going to have the single player, but if you want to go co-op, you can do that. Or if you want to go fight some rival gangs, you can go do that too. So there's something for everyone in all of those games. So it appeals to more people.
What I think that they're doing by doing that is I think they're trying to appeal more to PC gamers. I got to touch back on that. PC games has been doing this for years in their games, where you can drop in a game and pick up wherever, but then you can turn around with 25 people and go knock out the same objective. All right, a good example would be World of Warcraft.
Yep.
That's probably...
You could go in and do your own thing. You could go into that game and do your own thing and quest and do it solo and play through and read storyline. But you can hop in and do a 25-man raid on a boss, and you need 25 people to do it. And everybody needs to know what their specific role is, or everybody needs to be good at what they do. And I think what they're doing in terms of that is, I think they're just trying to bring that to console games finally, where you can make that transition in and play with a lot more people versus, okay, we have 6 people together. Go to PC games and you can have up to 40 people playing together, the same game, same objective, and not miss a beat. And I think that's great.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay, did y'all get to see enough of the games to figure out what piqued your interest the most?
What piqued my interest, I'm sorry that I got to jump in here, but the one thing that piqued my interest the most, that I'm actually kind of excited to see, was Project Spark.
Oh, yes, I'm not going to interrupt you.
That you can build your own world to the way that you want it to be. I mean, for the most part, for as far as like the way that they made it. And the things that you could do, I'm really excited to play that game. Because essentially I'm making my own game.
Is that something similar to Minecraft?
Oh my goodness!
That one. I heard it.
Now I've got to jump in here. Project Spark. I saw this. I was sitting in an ambulance. I was streaming. We were waiting on a call. I was sitting here waiting, and luckily we didn't. I got to see this game. I'm so excited about this game because I can play this with my kids, and I love games like that.
Yes.
Now, Project Spark appeals to me as much as it will my kids. Project Spark is the baseline of this game. It's the game where you create a game. And in Minecraft, the thing that is the most boring is now that I have my castle built, and now that I have my mine built, and now that I've got my nether tunnels built and all this, I won't bore the people that don't like Minecraft too much more, but now that I've got everything set the way I want it to be, I'm bored and I have to start a new seed. Now that may take 8 hours of gameplay and that may take 20 hours of gameplay, but at some point you go, this is just not doing it for me anymore. I need more of a challenge. I need something else. In Project Spark, you can set up your world as quickly as you want to, or you can work at it. And then you can set up your enemies to be as numerous and as many and as much as you want, and then you can morph them. Like the guy took a rock and he goes, I want the rock to be my pet. So the rock bounced around with the guy, and then he goes, I want the rock to beat up a goblin. So he put a fight brain, a brain that wanted to fight, in the rock, and the rock went and he beat up a goblin. Well, then they created a goblin that could fly or something like that. And he goes, all right, check this out. Mech rock. And it's like, really? He turned the rock into a mech. And Homeboy goes, and blows goblin out of the sky. It doesn't sound like Minecraft, but believe me, when you see this game, it is a lot of the player control sandbox like Minecraft. And a lot of what they showed, it was voice automated. And that was really, I don't know if that's the way it's going to be, or if you're going to be able to integrate the control with the Kinect and say, the things that they said with selection. But the guy goes, I want this to be nighttime. No, I want it to be daytime. I want it to be 4 o'clock. And the shadows moved to a 4 o'clock position. And I mean, that might not sound like much, but it's like there's that much level, or there's that deep a level of control that's in this game that builds games.
I was definitely excited to watch it. I thought it was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen to come out on the console.
It definitely sounds cool. That was one thing I didn't get to watch the full thing on, but it definitely sounds like a pretty cool concept. And like you were saying, Ahmed, that's going to appeal to parents, to kids, to a lot of people, just to be able to have the freedom to do whatever you want. And another reason why Minecraft is so successful.
Right.
So the one that I'm go ahead.
By far the most successful indie game I think ever to come out.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Minecraft, yeah, and let's not forget that it's YouTube that drove that. They said you put up whatever videos you want about this, you just go right ahead, and people would look at it, and they look to YouTube, and they create whole channels just based on Minecraft. So big shout out to all of us who do YouTube.
They just gave free rights, like reigning rights, pretty much.
That's it. Yeah,
Minecraft.
It's exactly what they did. Sunset Overdrive. Nothing.
I just actually watched the trailer of that, and it I don't know. I didn't fully get it. It wasn't very good.
Did you play Borderlands 2?
Yes.
Go anywhere. There were storylines, but it was go anywhere you want, fight whoever you want, do whatever you want. That is, what I get out of the trailer is Borderlands 2 meets Grand Theft Auto, and that is a really cool concept. Like, for some reason, the guy's using a shotgun. He used a shotgun. He runs out of bullets. The lady throws him a can of soda, a pop or Coke, whatever, from wherever you're from, and he plugs it into the shotgun and rolls it up in the clip like it belongs there, and then shoots this great big explosion and kills all kinds of aliens, which apparently are the bad guys in this world. It has a very Borderlands 2 feel.
Honestly, when I saw it, the first thing that came to mind, totally far away from video games, but I thought that this could have been the most epic Pepsi commercial.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
You know what they should have done? They should have done some product placement with that soda can.
Yeah.
Had Pepsi on that, you could have made money off that.
I'm thinking you're actually going to see more of that in games in the future. But yeah, for sure. But it integrates like a zombies kind of feel, because it looked like the monsters were moving kind of slow, and it's an open post-apocalyptic world. It's got the freedom of something like a Borderlands, but it's not outer space. It's Earth cities, and it's got this bad boy feel like a Grand Theft Auto type of feel, where if I want to break a window, I'll figure out if I want to use my fist, a rock, or my shoe. It's not really whether I should break the window or not. It's more of, I could pull that trash can up and do it with that. So
I'll tell you what, the enemies for that game look like giant walking zits with teeth.
And they explode like them too. The guy shoots what is that? It's a 45. No, it's a 90.
You shoot some big round, and then like a head explodes, and it says headshot in the blood.
Right.
But like I said, the whole time I'm waiting for him to like bust out. Like after the explosion, he just stands up on top of a car and just yells out Pepsi or like Coke or something. You know what I mean? Just like some kind of soda commercial. And I'd have been like, you know what, babe, we need to go to the store and buy that soda.
I have to have orange Fanta right now.
I need to have it right now.
They should have done that, because their slogan used to be like a taste for a new generation.
Right.
Does that not fit perfectly?
Oh yeah, nice connection.
Sony, you need to hire me.
For real.
Or whoever that was. You need to hire me.
It was Xbox. It came out during the Xbox thing.
Microsoft, you need to hire me.
Microsoft, for sure.
Another thing, how weak does your enemy have to be to get killed by an old vinyl record?
By a vinyl record. It hits him in the head. His head just caves.
They're dying from white noise before it hits.
The ring, yeah, for real. So,
and with all that, I mean, it just sounds like they're incorporating some of that humor from Borderlands too, which is definitely a good thing.
Yeah. The Division, Bonfire. You saw that?
Yes, that it looked like, if not my top game, one of my top games. Just it's Tom Clancy, which he makes great games, great stories.
No. He makes great stories. They make terrible games.
I liked a few of them.
Terrible.
I haven't played any of the recent ones, but I like the Rainbow Six series, like the Vegas ones. I like those games. But this one, again, it's an open world, post-apocalyptic setting, and it's got that MMO type feel, because when you watch the trailer, it's gameplay, which, by the way, it looks phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
very detailed. Looks really good. And like all the user interface, like the pause menu to be able to like change different weapons, things like that. It's all like looks like it's in real time. And throughout the trailer, they're like interacting with each other. They're co-oping it, and they're talking to each other. And then, like you were saying earlier, when they start fighting with some enemies to like take over, I think it's a police station. One of their friends just hops in, and like this drone is just like scouting people for him. And then once they kill them all, he just hops off, like he's just out of there. So it's drop in, drop out, which is awesome. The setting is cool, and it looks like you can just go explore anything, because at the end of it, they're like, "Oh man, let's go to Manhattan. That sounds fun."
Now,
it's like, how open is it? But it looks phenomenal.
Jules, did you catch the trailer for that?
For which one?
For the Division.
No, I did not.
Okay, the menus. The guy looks at his watch, which is nothing special. When he goes into a menu, he looks at his watch, which is nothing special. It's a little flip menu, and it looks. I saw it, and the first thing I wrote down was menu, because I wanted to hate on it. But then he goes to the map. He goes, "We need to go to the police station." He goes to the map, and it lays out at his feet a 3D replication of the city, the world around him. in small scale. Think the new firing range, small scale, and it's laid out all around his feet, and it shows objectives, waypoints, enemies, friends, and stuff that's going on inside this world, and it's all laid out around his feet. And I'm going, oh wow, that is the coolest dropout menu I have ever seen. The points. Think of the way the points showed up in COD 4, I think it was, with the way that the 5 and the 10 popped up when you killed an enemy. They pop up, they look a lot like that, but they look like they're integrated into the backdrop. And so whenever you get experience points, it's like written on the rafter over your head, like it belongs written on the rafter, and it pops up and then it fades away. But it's more integrated into the environment around you, as opposed to what do you call it? Just being a blatant and overt number that just showed up there. Yeah.
Yeah, so. I thought one cool thing in the trailer is it obviously showed a cover system, so it's cover fire, third person cover fire, and there's one guy that was like trying to flank him on their left side, and then he goes to the left side and then like pulls out this grenade, and it like just rolled towards the enemy. I thought like that looked pretty cool. So it seems like some of the weapon technology is going to be pretty advanced and offer up some new play options.
Now,
that was pretty cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I've never seen this before, so maybe you can point out a game to me. But it's third person until you ADS, and when you aim down sight, it goes to a first person aim down sight. Is that what I saw?
I don't know if it did that in that game. Again, I only watched the trailer once, but it might have that.
I want to say that there were so many games, so I may be getting that. Don't rail me for that. But anyway, next game. I
think I was going to say another one I'm really excited for is Destiny. That game looks phenomenal.
No, I can't agree. Now it looked fine. It really did. It looked fine, but. Go ahead. It's just so much of the same thing over and over, and I don't think
there's two games that I think I'll probably be looking forward to play first. I believe would either be Dead Rising or Rise. Rise being up there just because I want to see, as far as graphics for the game go, and having Roman soldiers.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can straight decimate your enemy. And you see the blade go through someone.
Through the back of his
neck. Or you cut a limb off. I mean, it is just... I was excited about that. Just to watch the gameplay, I was like, you know what? I could definitely sit for hours and probably just destroy. And be completely fine with it.
Yeah, and I missed that one, so...
Yeah.
When you were talking about doing things in a game, what I thought was funny is Dead Rising, to me, is coming out mainstream. With this Dead Rising.
Absolutely.
The previous Dead Risings it was more of you had to be into it, and they weren't as mainstream as other console games were. Like you'd kind of have to go out and look. Not too many of my friends played Dead Rising, and they made, I don't know how many Dead Rising 2s or sequels onto the original, but then there was only like one actual sequel to the first Dead Rising. With the same guy. But when I watched the trailer for Dead Rising, that you can go and just randomly pick up something and grab something else and just make up something on the spot. Yeah. And the graphics now are in tune with all the other consoles. That is awesome.
I was telling my wife about this when the guy, he grabs a flashlight and he finds a pistol, he puts them together, and now it's a tactical pistol with a flashlight attachment. And
like this dude just picks up a saw and a stick.
Yes, no, go into that.
Throws it.
Awesome.
And throws it after he's already murking zombies, but decides to throw it at a zombie before he gets into a car, and this saw splits a zombie in half.
Straight in half.
And it doesn't stop in slow motion. It does not miss a beat. It just goes.
Right.
I mean, there's so much free range of motion in the game. Like the entire world is it's open. Wherever you want to go there. If you want to jump on a roof, break a window, break a car window, it just doesn't matter. Like if you can dream it, you can do it.
Yeah.
And that spoke to me huge. So I'm definitely looking forward to that game.
And the other games, that was actually the last one on my list that I was absolutely looking forward to. Dead Rising, I gave it 2 out of 3. The other couple I gave 3s. But did y'all find anything else that you just definitely going to be purchasing with the new consoles?
Quantum Break might be another one.
No, go ahead.
Quantum Break looked epic in the sense of it's like the cinematics, and I'm excited for the storyline of it. When they started out and the guy and the girl walk in, and there's an explosion that just took place, and they come in and it's just like frozen in time, and he just goes over and grabs this chick by the wrist.
Yeah, but to me,
I was intrigued by it.
If that doesn't spell out cult hit, nothing does. You have to be so into how the time scheme works. You have to be so into how the portals of quantum space. I mean, quantum physics, quantum anything. You get into quantum. That's pretty in depth and detailed. And this is not a game that you pick up and put down. You have to play this one all the way through from beginning to end without taking very much break in the middle, because you have to be in. It did not speak anything good to me.
I think Quantum Break is definitely going to be more towards the adult fan base.
Yeah, I think that,
and it's even a small. I think it's more of a smaller group in that in the adult fan base. I mean, I think it just looks like one of those games that you have to pay attention.
I think it's going to be a cult hit, a true hit in a very small percentage of people.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Well, I think it looks pretty cool. I was just checking out some of the trailer there, because I remember hearing about it when they first announced the Xbox One. But when I first heard about this game, I couldn't help myself but to laugh, because what they're doing, and I liked the games for the PlayStation. What it was like, it's just like Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls, which is coming out by, I think it's Quantum Dream or Quantic Dream. So the similarities are just are so almost eerie. And all those games look great to me, because if you give me a good, solid story, then I love it. And this one looks like it'll deliver that. So, and like you were saying, it's definitely catered towards those, young adult type people. And I think it's also to try to pull away some of those people that were, liked Heavy Rain, get them over the Xbox, because hey, we got something like that too.
And I gotta say though, what I'm hoping to see in the new gen, or these new games that are coming out, is I got so sick and tired of these previous consoles in the games, in the sense that they were too short. We used to have really long storyline games, and then come to the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. These games that have come out, you could grind out 12 hours and be done with the game.
Have you played Black Ops 2's campaign?
I have.
Have you, Bonfire?
Oh yeah.
I destroyed the campaign.
I haven't. I don't care. I don't care about the campaign. I do care that you enjoy. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's not what I meant to say, but I could care less. I was probably the last to play through Modern Warfare 3's campaign, and when I played through Modern Warfare 3's campaign, I was inspired. I really liked it, so much so that I went back and finished Black Ops 1, so much so that I also went back and finished Modern Warfare 2, and now I get to Black Ops 2, and I'm like, I really want to play through the campaign, because Modern Warfare 3 had a pretty good campaign. I really enjoyed it. No, I could care less about the campaign.
I like those story games. Like the shooters, I mean, I think it's all in personal taste. I liked the Modern Warfare series because the stories all synced up. Where one ended, the next one didn't miss a beat. It picked up.
I enjoyed those campaigns a lot.
Black Ops 1 to Black Ops 2, there's kind of a break in between that where you don't even know what the hell's going on until later in the campaign. You figure out, oh, got it. Okay, this is who this guy is.
I must not.
What's going on?
What I really don't like about Black Ops 2 campaign is the way it breaks down. It's not a on the rails, I guess. And you can go play these demi missions where you control mechs and the claw and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, is this part of the campaign? Because I'm not into the campaign, and all you're doing is distracting me from it. And here I don't do well at the level with drone, the multiplayer map drone, where you have to control the mechs and stuff. I was like, can I please just get through this because I can move on? This is so tedious to me. It was not an enjoyable experience. Therefore, I felt like I had to grind it out and get done with it.
Yeah, well, it's essentially they incorporated a real-time strategy game to that, and I'm not really a fan of that series. I mean, I used to play it when I was younger, but I'm nowhere near good at those at all. So it's like you were saying, it wasn't that enjoyable, and I think it was good in theory, like to try to give us some more variety, but I don't think it was executed.
Recognize that it failed, we don't like it, and don't do it again.
But as far as like stories go, I'm going to touch this as an example. And I know this is super controversial, but in the Modern Warfare series, when they killed Ghost,
that broke
your heart. A game like that, oh, it did actually. In essence, I almost stopped playing the Modern Warfare series because of it. But to have a character like that was not necessarily a main character for that storyline, but just a very well liked character. From the start to the second game, was to be able to draw in a crowd like that off of that storyline alone, and to have a character where you actually feel for that character because you enjoy that character. That's what I'm looking for in a game.
So here's a good place to...
They can draw me in and I can actually care for it.
Here's a good place to insert this. In Call of Duty Ghosts, you have a dog. The dog's name is Riley, which is named after Ghost, because Ghost's name was John Riley or something like that.
That's the new Ghost. That dog will be the new Ghost character.
Absolutely not. I defy them. You know what you will not find, and you will not find it because of how much crap Treyarch had to take whenever they had dogs that got killed in what was it? Was it World at War? That was before me. With the first game that had the dog kill streak, and you shot the dogs as kill streak. Anyway, they will not do this because PETA will not allow it, and they don't want to deal with the fallout from it. Not only that, they know that everyone expects the turn in this game to be at the end of it, and they've said it. There's a big emotional twist at the end. Somebody dies, and it sucks. And you know what? It is. Somebody's going to die. It is going to suck, but it's not going to be the dog. It's going to be the brother. I'm calling it now. Here it is.
I tell you what.
It's going to be the brother.
If PETA raises a stink about a digital dog dying in a story,
they already have. I
will buy the plane ticket to go to that court hearing.
They already have. They raised a stink about the previous game. Bonfire may know more about that, but I don't think it's going to be the dog.
I don't follow PETA.
No, you follow
PETA in Black Ops all the time, and I don't even care about PETA.
PETA stands for People Eat Tasty Animals. Okay, let's come to peace with it.
So what do you think?
It's the circle of life.
Jules thinks that the dog's going to die. I think it's going to be the brother. Do you know? Do you want to wager an opinion on that?
The dog may not die in the story at this point, because I think what they're going to do is they're going to draw it out like they did Modern Warfare, like they did Black Ops.
Yeah, sure. He may die in Ghost 2, but he won't die.
So I would say maybe in Ghost 2, and it might be an epic event when it happens, because I know I'll probably tear up.
The beginning of Ghost 2, but not the... I'm interrupting. Go ahead, Bonfire.
Well, I was going to say, given all the whole circumstances, I would have guessed that the dog would die. I mean, they set us up for it.
That's okay.
You
can both be wrong. That's fine. It won't be the dog because that's the obvious twist, and the obvious twist is really not what happened in any of the previous Call of Duties. It was never an obvious.
I have to say, they already reeled you in.
They have. You're right.
You have a dog that is your best friend, and your bosom buddy, that kills people.
And then
they brought him into the trailer before they even brought out the gameplay.
And they named him.
As soon as they named him, it was over. They had you.
He my little buddy.
They gave it a name.
You know, there's two kids.
The twist.
There's 200 kids out there that just named their dog Riley, and they haven't even went to the pound and picked him up yet.
Just 200?
I'm still gonna call him Fido. I'm still gonna call that dog Fido. I'll be like, I don't know.
You die in the end. That's what the twist will be.
Maybe.
You just die.
Maybe. This would be one of the first, and maybe the first Call of Duty that would stick to one character then.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
If that's the way it goes. So, other fails. Other games that failed.
Killer Instinct is going to be an epic fail.
I think Killer Instinct is in there as a goof, but...
Killer Instinct, I can't believe
I think that's
that they made Killer Instinct for a new-gen console when I hated it when it first came out.
on the
Sega. On the Sega. I thought it was the most garbage fight game.
Now, is Killer...
I couldn't even say... I played it for one day.
Is Killer Instinct a new title, or is it just the reskin of Mortal Kombat?
It's pretty... No.
Like Killer
Instinct is a reboot of Killer Instinct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not familiar.
It went from garbage to just... I think it's going to be garbage with better graphics.
Epic garbage.
As far as Killer Instinct goes, I actually enjoyed the first one. I'm not a big fighting game player by any means. I currently don't play any fighting games. They're not my taste, but out of all the fighting games, I did enjoy Killer Instinct, back in the day. With the new reboot, I think they just did it for publicity.
I'd much rather they come out with a Soul Calibur 16 than play Killer Instinct and relive.
Or Tekken 23.
Yeah, one of those two.
All right, let's go ahead and poke at maybe half of our audience. Epic fail, #1 worst game in all of what I have seen in the first day. Battlefield 4.
Ooh,
really?
Yeah, absolutely. The graphics are exactly this. They may be a better texture pack, but after watching specifically what they're doing with Call of Duty Ghost and the pixel counts and how they move, the one thing I looked at was the inside of the scope and how crisp and clear. Because that's one of the things that the Ghosts brought out was the inside crisp clarity of the circle of the ACOG scope. And
you got to look at Ghosts. They focused a lot at depth.
And whenever
they focused a lot into depth. When
you got to Battlefield 4, there was, they knew they couldn't do it, so they just made it fuzzy. It's so sad. The graphics are just trash. It looks like Battlefield 3, which looks like Battlefield 2. Just the graphic, it's the same thing that I cried about whenever we saw the Ghost trailer, or teaser trailer. All it's going to be is better graphics, and that's just sad. And that's really kind of what Battlefield 4 looks like, is just a sad reboot.
I think it'll have a better campaign, though. And I disagree with you slightly, because Call of Duty Ghosts, to me, I'm not excited about it. I'll get it, I'll play it. They can win me over with multiplayer for sure, but the campaign, to me, just like when I watch the two like single player levels with Dog and then Underwater, I honestly just wasn't excited. I felt like I'd seen it before.
Me too.
I mean, the graphics, yeah, they're definitely enhanced. They do look a little better. I wouldn't say they're, top notch or anything, but I'm just not excited about it yet.
Go ahead and say it. The dog makes it. The dog makes the whole game.
What I'm going to have to say, and I'm
the dog
to agree
is the drone in Black Ops 2. It's on the ground.
True.
I'm going to have to agree with Bonfire on this, because I think what it is with Battlefield 4 and Ghosts is I got the same feeling when I saw Ghosts that I was like, you know what, I've seen it before.
Yeah,
it's awesome. It's great. But I will say that Ghosts, just what they did with this Call of Duty is they did focus more into depth, more in depth, like as far as in terms of like every individual did, like finger on the hand, skin. Like when you actually look at a player, you see like every single hair, facial hair, more detail. But as far as like all around graphics go to the outside, other than the water, they did a great job with the water and the underwater experience. But other than that, from what I saw from like the gameplay, I just felt like I was looking at more of almost like Black Ops 2 with slight enhanced graphics in terms of scenery. Or actually, one of the things I saw the jungle level reminded me of a Black Ops 1 multiplayer map.
Yeah.
Where they're in the jungle.
Now the biggest. Go ahead.
Battlefield 4. I think Battlefield 4. The reason why they reskinned it feels kind of like a redo. Or they just took it over and gave it a different storyline, or a next storyline, I should say. Their graphics weren't all that bad to begin with, I felt. So I mean, plus the game, its followers alone. I think they're looking more into what they're feeding their followers. You know what I mean?
It has a hardcore following for Battlefield that will absolutely hate on anything Call of Duty, and I mean that's fine. I am predisposed to not liking Battlefield because it is so much different than Call of Duty, and I like Call of Duty, and I just don't like anything that to me seems like a knockoff of it, and vice versa.
And when you play online on Battlefield, you're not worried about 9-on-9 or like 6-on-6. You're worried about a lot more players in that game than you are in Call of Duty. So I think in terms of that, to hold those graphics on such a grandiose scale, because the maps are huge, like to a point where you can get into a vehicle and it will take you a hot minute before you even reach any part of the end of that map, and you have like multiple town settings. I mean, to even hold the graphics that they had before and move that into a new game. I mean, that's still saying something. So I mean, I can't really fault them for not so much boosting their graphics in their game.
Yeah, but I watched a guy at the fire department one place play it, and I really wasn't all that impressed with it. It was one of the smaller maps, so he only had to hike for like 5 minutes to get to where he needed to go to shoot somebody. I've seen excerpts of parts of gameplay from a specific YouTuber that put up some Battlefield stuff, and I just, it doesn't look like an interesting game. It looks, in some ways, it looks a lot more realistic, and I'll give it that, and it's got its positive qualities. It's just not, it's not my cup of tea. I really like that you can revive somebody, but they're not in final stand. They're just dead, dying on the ground, and you can go revive them, if that's what I saw.
And you know, that's just going to appeal to their followers. Like, I can't remember who told me this, but I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and it's not that Battlefield followers don't like Call of Duty. It's that you're one or the other, but you're not both.
Right.
You're either a Call of Duty fan or you're a Battlefield fan, but you're not going to be both, because one is just going to consume your time. You can't put equal time in both games, because they both reel you in terms of, you know, you really enjoy to play this game on a multiplayer level.
Yeah.
So I think that's really not going to really. It may cause a discussion to Battlefield followers. It may. I know in Call of Duty, it's been a constant discussion. Hey, how are they going to do graphics in the next game? Oh man, that looks awesome! And then the next game comes out, and then you look back at the last game, and you're like, man, I can't believe I enjoyed that.
Transition next game, so that we don't get too terribly many haters. I would love to see the comments. I hope this really instigates a bunch of comments. But so one thing that I thought was a really epic fail, stupid move was, and I'm not trying to hate more on the PlayStation 4, but one of the things that they announced that Sony announced was that they are bringing. Let me get to my note for it. They are bringing Diablo 3 to not only PlayStation 4 but also to PlayStation 3. You don't launch it both on. You don't launch the game on both consoles. That's to me that's just dumb, and we've discussed that. And when you launch Diablo 3, understand that you're launching a game that didn't do well on PC. This game's already flunked the super sale test. I know people like I had a buddy.
Huge. I'm sorry, I have to cut in on that one. Diablo 3. A huge fallback on it was everybody loved Diablo 2. everybody enjoyed that game. But then they were waiting for Diablo 3 to come out, and it got pushed back an entire year. And they're like, all right, it's coming out, and it got pushed back another year. I think it must have got pushed back about 4 times before it finally released.
So,
and then they realized, wow, this was not what I was looking forward to.
Right, so my buddy
And now they want to bring it to a console.
And he doesn't play PC. He plays with me. He plays on Xbox. And he had a PC, played Diablo 2, loved it, had friends that he played Diablo 2 with, and they made a blood pact or whatever, whatever. Hey, looking forward to seeing Diablo 3 kind of thing. They get Diablo 3, he's like, man, I'm going to be off the game for a while. I'm going to be playing Diablo 3. I'll probably, I'm going to hit it hard for a couple of weeks. I'm like, man, I'm really going to miss out on your company, and enjoy yourself. I hope you enjoy yourself over in Diablo 3. He's back like 2 days later. Man, that game sucks. And I was like, really? He's like, man, everybody that I played with, we all got together, we were playing through it, and we realized that this game's just trash and we can't play it anymore. And so I read a couple of reviews, but I took it from that mindset of predisposition that the game wasn't any good, and I didn't find anything that really refuted that. So I just kind of took it to say, well, Diablo 3 is a failed game. It's a title that did not hit the market when it needed to be successful, because it did have some stellar things going for it. It just didn't hit the market when it needed to be successful. And so what makes you think that time is now? Here, 2 years later, and you're going to launch it and brag about it and say, yay, we've got Diablo 3. No? Am I the only one that sees that as a bad move?
I think their major flaw in that is, one, like I said, Diablo fans were very awestruck when it came to when Diablo 3 finally came out. They're like, this is what we've been waiting for so long. I think they released that they were coming out with Diablo 3 way too early.
Too early.
They didn't. No, yeah, like that they when they said that they were going to release Diablo 3, because it was actually pitched when they said that they were releasing StarCraft 2, and I believe they released a statement on StarCraft 2 years before that game came out, and it was supposed to release around the same time, and this was like 2007. And then when it came out, StarCraft still has a huge following, and it's still a great game to play if you like that Command and Conquer type feel. But like everybody enjoyed the first 2 Diablos. And Diablo, they got most of their following when Diablo 2 came out. Now you play the same game with nothing really new. It's like you just went and bought the same game for the 3rd time. And now they want to take it and bring it to a console. Not just a console, but 2 consoles for the same company. After you just release a brand new console, why would you want to spend money to develop a game on a console that's on its way out?
Yeah, well, on its way out, or it's
and on top of
definitely
that,
not
a failed game at that.
Right.
On the 2 consoles,
to divide the money even further. Yeah, I see it as dividing what little money you're actually going to make on this game, and you're dividing it even further. Granted, it both goes into the same pot, but
I see them as trying to see if they can't salvage what happened when they released that game, and they're trying to just make some money back. I don't know. I see it as being a really weird move for them to make. In releasing that game onto a console. Like, if it wasn't good on PC, what makes you think that I'm going to play it on a console?
So, Bonfire, do you think that the Diablo series is dead as a franchise? Did we lose Bonfire? I bet his controller turned off, and so he can't chat.
But I definitely got to agree with you there. I don't see how they could just take a failed game and then bring it on. I think Diablo's done.
I think Diablo.
Well, I'm embarrassed because my controller did get turned off.
And that's why we have.
And I'm sitting here like, I'm sitting here talking like no one's letting me talk. Oh man. Okay. So, anyways, what I was gonna say about Diablo 3, one thing that had going against it from the get-go is that it required a constant online connection, and no one expected that. Cause a lot of the people who played Diablo 2 just wanted to, go in and play single player, and they couldn't do that because they had to have that connection, which makes me wonder. With the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 not requiring that constant connection, are they going to adjust that to where you can play single player? And will that help the game? It could potentially, because I know a lot of people hated that. And I think maybe one of the reasons they're trying to bring it over to the consoles is not necessarily Sony's decision. It's more or less, I don't know the publisher for Diablo 3, but I think they want to try to reach a new fan base because of the failure that they had for the PC gamers. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a big PC gamer. I'm more of a console gamer, and so I haven't played that game. I'm not going to go get it, but if I was interested in it, then I would have that opportunity to go play that game.
Well, what I'm going to say in comparison to that is Final Fantasy 11.
13.
Sure.
11 being, I think it was 11, was not ever released on a console, and you had to play online on PC when all the other Final Fantasies were released on console.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're making me. You're making me.
Final Fantasy 11 is doing great. They are still coming out with add-ons now.
Wow.
And people are still playing that game.
So they promoted Final Fantasy 13 tonight at the PS4 event, and they've got a guy up there talking who can barely speak English. He's obviously, and I'm gonna say Japanese, and if he's speaking Cantonese or Vietnamese or any other Far Eastern dialect, I'm sorry, it's out of ignorance. It's not out of discrimination. So the guy speaking Japanese, he barely speaks English, and he introduces this game without giving the title for it. And so the game, there's a guy who only speaks Japanese to introduce the game itself, and you've got English subtitles at the bottom. And then you get into the game, and the game is all in Japanese with English subtitles, and it's like, we're full on Japanese. Hello, Sony. And there's no redeeming quality. It can't pull me in at all. I don't even know what this game is, and it looks like a cartoon, and it looks silly, and I don't know what it is, so I don't know how to rationalize what I'm seeing. So without being able to tie it or anchor it to something, I've got nothing to go on. And finally, at the end, we go, oh, it's Final Fantasy 13. It's got another demi title there, but like this whole introduction to this game and several other games on the PlayStation 4 was just an epic fail. To the way they introduced so many of these games.
I'll say that's not the greatest marketing pitch.
Do what?
You'd have to feel so awkward.
Well, I was gonna say, could you imagine being at the conference and the guy's talking Japanese to you, and you're like, "Dude, what are you saying?" Because I don't know if they showed the subtitles like in the background or something, but if they didn't, like, whoa.
Yeah, it was up on screen. Like the guy that they were actually looking at that was in front of them, he was not speaking English well. But then they cut away to the guy who was speaking Japanese, and he was on screen with subtitles, and it's like, why did you choose him? Why didn't you choose someone who could speak English, or just let the guy continue to struggle with the English that he could speak, so that we could? I mean, it's an American audience. This is an American. It's an event held in America. You're going to need to speak English here to make your audience understand what it is you're saying. And like I said, I'm not trying to speak from a discrimination standpoint. It's just a fact that you're talking to an American public. There's not very many people who just happen to know Japanese as a second language.
Yeah, they could have handled that better for sure.
Yeah, they could have brought out a translator or something other than subtitles, because I speak another language, and I know subtitles don't always bring things across the way that they're supposed to be.
Why do you feel like you have to have the CEO of the company introduce anything? Why don't you hire Kevin Bacon? Or you know what? Why don't you get Tommy Lee Jones? Everybody likes to listen to Tommy Lee Jones.
I don't know if you've noticed, but the CEOs, when they get up and make these presentations, or they go and they present whoever's coming out to talk about anything, I've noticed that these guys come out and they just don't even really care. Like, they're not into it like everybody else that's there to watch these things. These guys are just like, they have these fake smiles, and then they talk really slow, and then they point a lot, but they have no clue what's going on. Just reading off a prompter, and it sounds exactly like this. It's just incredible that you sit there and come out and preach about your own system, but you come across that you don't even care about your own system.
Right.
You're just like, I can't wait to see the revenue that comes out of this new system.
Oh yeah.
And I had no part in creating it. But I like that. I love this system.
They should have just got Liam Neeson, because that guy's awesome and he has the best voice.
Isn't he dead?
Liam Neeson. No.
No. Okay. I'm thinking of the other guy, the airplane guy, Top Gun guy, with white hair.
No, the dude from Taken.
Yeah, that's Liam Neeson. I was thinking of Don't Call Me Shirley.
Oh, okay.
What's his name?
Yeah, that would have been awesome just to hear his voice.
Liam, you know what? If Liam Neeson went out there and sold these consoles, I'd be instantaneously sold.
Oh yeah.
I have a particular set of skills. It's a 4.0 KD. I have a 2,000% win rate. Oh yeah.
If Sean Connery came out and promoted Xbox, I'd have bought one yesterday ago. You know what I mean?
Sean Connery comes out to sell the Tom Clancy games.
Welcome, this is Tom Clancy's new title. You just come out and you just hear that, you're like, I'm buying it. I don't even know what the storyline is. I don't even know what the gameplay is, but I want it. Buy it now. It'll be in stores tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Well, one thing I didn't mention when we were talking about games we're excited for, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and they finally announced Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront. I don't know if it's Battlefront 3, but they announced it, and there was like a 30-second trailer that really didn't show you anything, but it's coming. It's from EA. I think it's from EA and DICE, and actually I talked about in one of my videos on my channel that I had a feeling that EA and DICE were going to come out with Battlefront.
Nice play.
Nailed it. I'm excited for it.
You know what I'm waiting for as a Star Wars fan? Knights of the Old Republic 3. That's what I want.
KOTOR.
I'm sitting here doing a podcast with a couple of nerds. Where are you at, Tactical Oyster? Come on. Come back from Prague or wherever you are.
Knights of the Old Republic was a cool RPG. Okay, it was a cool game. And I've been waiting for something like that to come out. And I know it's been talked about for years because people want it. I'm surprised nobody's played on it. Because I think it'd be a great seller.
Speaking of playing on, and I'm just going to cut both of you off, not intentionally. If you had more points, stop me. But
No.
Speaking of playing on, what's the new Halo called?
I don't know.
I don't want to curse on a podcast, but same old crap, different game.
Here's what I did notice, and I watched very specifically because I made fun of the new tablet game that they came out with. What's it called? Spartan Assault. And I made.
Yeah.
Did you see the video that I made? Here's my video plug. That
you mean Halo Wars 2?
I didn't play it. I don't know. Spartan Assault, but it looked like the Dead Ops arcade where you control a guy and it's the overview and he shoots and stuff. And I actually had that gameplay in one try. I thought it was pretty cool that I had gameplay that was only like 45 seconds too long. Anyway, so the lady came out. She was talking about Halo, and she made very conscious efforts. You have to look at the way she talked to not give away the name of the new Halo, the next Halo, and what there was a severe lack of, or an absence of, was the number 5. And I'll go on record immediately and say the next one is not Halo 5. It's not the continuation of 4. Sorry, I think my controller just cut off. It's not the continuation of Halo 4 into Halo 5. It's going to be a different storyline or whatever, because I don't know anything about it. My kids like it, but I don't think it's going to be Halo 5, and that's all I've got for that.
Well, I like Halo, and I watched that reveal or whatever it was, and I think it does continue off the story. I don't know if it's Halo 5, but I think it does continue it, because when Master Chief, he's got those, like, well, it looks like dog tags, but it's not. It's actually Cortana's, like, chip that she used to be on.
Right.
Spoiler alert, sorry. She dies.
That's cool. I didn't play the game, but now I know everything about it.
I know that she was going to die, and wasn't it that, here's a huge spoiler alert, we're going to ruin Halo 4 for everyone who hasn't finished it yet. But the game's been out for a year, so
you know what? Just check out my review on my channel. It's there.
The breakdown, the main breakdown in Halo 4 is that you're trying to save Cortana because she's degrading, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
And you fail in that effort.
And you're also trying to stop a unstoppable force.
Okay.
Because she's been around longer than any AI before her, because they have a certain time limit.
So go ahead, and why you think that's going to continue into 5?
Well, because he's holding on to that. He's got that chip that she was on, and it just makes sense that because she is not there anymore, that he's, I don't know, he grabbed it. I don't know, he grabbed it and he did it in a way like he was going to try to get revenge or something.
Gotcha.
So
I think she's coming back. I think she's coming back.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they're going to work on it, and Cortana's going to come back, and not necessarily have all the memories that she did from all past history.
Yeah.
But I think she's coming back.
You know why? Because you can't kill Riley.
Exactly. You can't kill him.
Because you can't kill Riley.
So it's going to happen.
So she has to come back.
That's right.
Other big game. You had more for that, didn't you? For
me? No.
Yeah. No. Okay. Other big titles. There are so many people that are excited for Watch Dogs. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I think it looks cool. I haven't watched some of the recent gameplays. I feel like there's just so many different gameplays and videos out on that game. Like it almost would spoil it. It seems like, but I think the game looks cool. It's got some really interesting concepts. I think it also incorporates that, co-op drop in, drop out type multiplayer thing. But it seems just like a variation of GTA 5, which definitely isn't a bad thing. But I think it's definitely something I'll play. Maybe not right away, but it's definitely something I want to try out.
Yeah. How about you, Jules? Have you seen any of that? That's where the guy controls the world with his smartphone.
No, I didn't get a chance to watch that.
I'm not really sold on it. I actually said a very similar comment that I wrote down next to it, and that's Grand Theft Auto goes high tech.
Yeah.
And Ubisoft had a promo for it, and then PS4 had a promo for it, and PS4's promo was better. It showed more. But they actually did some gameplay with that with PlayStation. But I'm not there. It doesn't look like my kind of game. But I will commend them on making a game that I don't know that there's another one out there like it. I think it's a pretty unique game. Yeah,
I think that's one of the things that appeals to me about it, is because it's something totally different. It hasn't really been done before. And I think there's going to be a lot of freedom within that game, and I think that will definitely appeal to, those open world type game players. So I kind of have an interesting question to ask you guys, because I don't know if anyone has anything else to say on Watch Dogs, but did anyone else notice that it seems like the majority of the bigger games we take away from the reveals today, they're open world? Has anyone kind of noticed that push? It seems like all the games are going towards like open world. That's before, like with this current generation, it was all very linear campaigns and your typical like multiplayer shooters.
I did notice that actually.
My top 4 games that I have written down, and I'm saving one to the end. So top 3 is Sunset Overdrive is open world. The Division really appeared open world because the girl in the co-op kept saying, "We'll go over there later. Oh, we'll go to Manhattan later. We'll go do whatever we want later."
You know.
That I didn't. That's what she said. Sorry. And Dead Rising is also open world. So yeah, I didn't put that together, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I think there's a big push for that, especially since they're all talking up their internet connectivity, everything instantaneous. I think there's a really big push for that, and I think it's kind of cool because we haven't seen a lot of that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Are you looking forward to South Park? The Stick of Truth?
I haven't seen much on it, to be honest. But
they didn't show much today.
Isn't it supposed to be like? Isn't it very like SNES RPG type? Or am I wrong?
I think that South Park is so overtly offensive and tries their best to offend everyone that's just so far from who I am as a person that I can't relate to anything they've got going on. So it makes it very difficult for me to even have an unbiased and accurate opinion of what they do.
Yeah.
Did I just incriminate anyone who wanted to have an opinion of what they do? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but I don't know. I thought I'd throw it out there.
I you know, you're not necessarily. You're right. I mean, that's just their humor. That's what they've banked on all these years that the show's been on.
And it's insanely popular.
Find it funny or offensive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I enjoy the show. I think it's funny. I don't watch it religiously. I'm not like a religious fan of the show or anything, but I enjoy it every now and then. And as far as the game goes, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a huge. I enjoy RPGs, but I found out that over the years, especially with games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, my attention span for games has gone down a lot, which I think is unfortunate. So to sit down and play an RPG like The Stick of Truth, it's more difficult for me to do.
I don't mean to cut anybody off, but I'm gonna have to cut out of here.
Okay, dude. It was good having you on. I don't know how much I'm running out of games anyway, and we'll probably wrap it up pretty soon. But
yeah.
Okay. Good talk to you, Jules.
All right, man. Later, Jules.
Have a good evening. Good discussion.
And if you want to see more of Jules, you can check out several of the videos of his gameplay on my channel and some dual comms with him, and there'll be more in the future, and we're actually trying to get him into opening his own channel. So if that ever happens, we'll give him some links and some creditation there.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Good night.
Later, man.
There's a car game called The Crew. I think it's called The Crew. It came out I think it was one of Ubisoft's first games that they talked about.
Yeah, I didn't see the trailer, but I heard about it.
It's a MMO. It really. I actually wrote that down. It's a MMO, and it's supposed to have the quote that I wrote down was total freedom, and it's online persistent. And I don't know if that means anything like the Drivatar that Forza talked about, where your car drives for you and does good things for you even when you're not driving it. But that looked like one of those really. It didn't look like an old school game, but it had that old school feel of you accomplish things and you get gear. You accomplish things and you get tools. You accomplish and you get money. And that's the kind of driving game that I like. Do you like any driving games, or would that bring you back to a driving market?
It might bring. I'm not a big driving game. I would say the last driving game I really got into was Project Gotham Racing 3, PGR 3. Okay. I had a blast with that game. I don't know. I fell in love with it.
I think mine was Driver 2, so it was that long ago.
Oh, wow. I think with this game, if I had some people to play the game with, because it seems like multiplayer is a big aspect of that game, and in being
right.
open world. If I had some people to play with, I think I could get into it. But if I was just to hop into this game single player, I don't think I could get into it. For me, that'd be a must-play multiplayer. Otherwise, I don't think it would do it for me.
And this is a point that we hit on earlier. I don't know that you're going to have that much choice except to play with other people. I think the interactions are going to be there, and you're going to have to turn them down as opposed to having to seek them out.
Yeah.
So that's something. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, with the game I recently reviewed, Dead Island Riptide, that, similar to, like, Borderlands 2, has a drop-in, drop-out type, like, co-op aspect to it. And I got to the point, because I just want to play the campaign by myself, solo, just do my own thing. And it got to the point where I had to basically sign out of Xbox Live to play this game, or show offline, because I just get, like, random people who hop in the game and start doing all these missions for me, and it kind of got annoying. So I'm hoping that that doesn't happen with, some of these new games coming out, to where the multiplayer aspect is a big part of it. Because, there's always those people, or the quote-unquote trolls, who are going to hop in your game and, try to mess with you.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't ruin things.
I haven't thought about that at all. Now, I know in the only one I can really think of much is I can't think of anything. Apparently, in Minecraft, you can kick people out of your game. It's got a specific title as to what it is. It's the anti-trolling thing that they put in there, so you can remove people from your game, and that may be more prevalent in these games if you're going to have people jumping into them and not having to accept them, that they just show up and they are there. So you're going to have a way to remove them to maybe continue to enjoy your experience, or to make it the experience you want it to be. But with the way that the revelation that you really dropped on me, with them all being, all of the ones that I think are better games being these mass multiplayer online open world type games, that's a whole new level of thinking that I don't think that I know that I'm not accustomed to, and I don't know that very many other people are accustomed to having to think on, or not, at least not in the console world, having to think on a 20-person, a 20-player level. 18 is as big as I've ever thought, and if you're doing 20 at minimum, 40, 50 players in a game, then you're talking of a whole new level of gaming, of what's got to be involved in that game. Because think of how complex the game has to be to entertain 30 people playing it.
Yeah, definitely. It has to be able to hold all those people's attention. And I think one thing I was gonna say regarding, like, the drop in, drop out, I think I don't know how they're gonna implement it, like we were talking about, but I think one thing that would be cool if they did it is that to have your list of friends who, like on Xbox Live, you got your people. You could create a list of friends within that game that you would allow to drop in and drop out, and other people wouldn't be able.
Gotcha. At any time, these people are welcome.
And those people, are welcome to hop in the game and play with you. And if you're not on that list, then you can't do it. I think it'd be cool if they implemented something like that, so you can still control your own experience and enjoy the game. Because if you've got those trolls coming around, or people that are just going to mess with you, that's going to ruin your experience in the game.
True. A couple of other games, I'm actually wrapping up here, running out of games to talk about. There's a game called Crimson Dragon, and to me this game looks like Spyro all grown up. Like, the dragon has gone from this cute little adorable bouncy thing into something that's a weapon of mass destruction, and you get to control him. I never got into Spyro. Maybe the people that did are going to enjoy that game, but it's there. It's going to be available, and I don't really have much to add to that. There were some of these trailers that you saw in not only in PlayStation but in Microsoft. That was a Microsoft game that they didn't really tell you anything. In fact, there's a game called The Order that PlayStation led with. I have no idea what it's about. I was watching the Twitter feed. Nobody knew what the game was about. Why do you have a stagecoach? Everybody's dressed in archaic, not archaic, but antiquitous clothing, and they're using plasma guns. This doesn't make any sense. Mad Max made no sense. He had one bullet left, so he ran over the guy instead of shooting him to put him out of his misery. And that game doesn't make any sense. I mean, the title is the only thing that helps you there.
Yeah. I didn't see all those. When you talk about the Spyro game, I forget, what is that called again?
Crimson Dragon, I believe.
Crimson Dragon. When I was younger, on the PlayStation 1, I played a ton of Spyro. I thought those games were fun. Would I play them now? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, maybe I'd try it just for fun.
What if it was the adult version? The adult version of Spyro.
How much more adult? I guess I gotta check it out.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I didn't take enough away from the trailer to be able to say this is the objective. This is the reason you play the game.
Is it like a platformer?
Yeah, I don't even know that much. I know that you fly around on a dragon, or you fly around and you are the dragon. So, like I said, there were some really bad trailers that were given tonight, and that's one that didn't tell me enough about the game that I could make an educated discussion about it. But I wanted to throw that out there that it did remind me of Spyro all grown up in a now I'm a big bold mean dragon, and I think he shoots fireballs maybe or something. He has to. He's a dragon. So
yeah.
The Witcher 3. So did you play The Witcher 2?
I have not. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I've just never gotten around to that title. But it definitely seems like a game that I could get into.
It looked pretty cool. It looked let me move my controller. It looked to me like Assassin's Creed meets World at War. And the levels of magic with that same kind of sleek control that you have in Assassin's Creed. Now, I haven't played Assassin's Creed and I haven't played World at War, but I've seen a lot of the gameplay of both, and it looked like they merged into this. You control an individual, and he does some magic stuff. He does some stuff with swords and whatnot, and it looked like it could be. I don't want to say a Neverwinter Nights reboot, but maybe it's going to be a revival of the Witcher series and put them back into more of a forefront. Yeah,
I'm checking it out right now, and one of the first things I noticed is it said it's a multi-region open world game. So back to what we were saying, but
yeah,
I mean, it looks cool, and it looks like it could, revive the series and be a lot of fun. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a multiplayer aspect to it, to where you can go in and do like quests with your friends. But it looks cool. Something definitely to keep your eye out for. Again, I've never really gotten into the series, so I'm the best person to make a statement on that one, I guess.
Two games that I have left. The first one is Thief. I played Thief on PC. I don't remember if it was just the demo or if I didn't get very far. The first time I played it, I thought it was stupid. I didn't follow the rules, therefore I wasn't any good at it, therefore I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing about Thief. After I started following the rules and tried to be as stealthy as possible instead of just taking the stealth character and trying to blast him through a world, which is not the way you play the game, it became a lot more fun for me. And I saw somewhere before E3 that Thief is coming back, and they're making a new Thief, and it's going to be bigger, better, bolder. They're not giving it a number, because I think that actually went to Thief 1, 2, and 3, maybe more.
I think it was supposed to be Thief 4. I think it's supposed to be Thief 4, but they're not giving it a number.
They took the numbers off. They're just going to call it Thief. So it would be maybe the whole series gets rebooted with this one. And from what I've seen, it looked like a lot of fun. One of those montage clip trailer type things, and I was very disappointed that it wasn't displayed today. Maybe it'll be in the next 2 days, but it wasn't displayed on Tuesday, Monday.
Yeah,
whatever today is.
Again, me not being the PC gamer, I never played the originals, but to me, the game looks a lot like Dishonored, and I know Dishonored takes a lot from this Thief game, the originals, anyways. So I think it looks cool, and I know the games traditionally really are very heavy on the stealth. You're supposed to get through the game without getting caught, and I think that's cool because it brings a new challenge instead of just hacking and slashing your way through the game. It actually makes it a challenging piece, and that is a game I can definitely see myself picking up, trying out, because it's a new challenge. It's something different. It isn't done very often, and I like that variety.
Now, there is another shooter game that follows a similar espionage type role as Thief, but I can't remember the name of it for some reason. It's not showing up for me at all in my notes. But the last one is the last one that I gave really high ratings to in my own little personal. I think it's Blacklist. Splinter Cell Blacklist is the other one that's like Thief.
Oh yeah.
And it showed a multiplayer aspect, so Thief with multiplayer and guns. So anyway, okay, back over. Rayman Legends. Rayman Legends is a game. I'll give you a chance. I'll give a little monologue while you're looking that one up. Rayman Legends looked like a game that I want to play with my kids. It looked like a game that I want to purchase and play as a family. It had some really stellar graphics, but it looked like a very basic game. It's not an intricate game. It's almost this scroller aspect, maybe like a 3D scroller aspect, and the graphics they're on par. They're not supreme, but they are on par, and it looks like something that's going to be really popular for the, I don't know, maybe under 11-year-old market. And the other thing that really grabbed me, by the way, this is going to come out for the old consoles because it launches on September 3rd.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
It has cool sounds. It's got a really good soundtrack, and the sounds in it aren't backtones. The music is there to entertain you as you play, and that's not something you see in. I don't remember seeing that in any of the games that were demoed today, except this one. It had a vibrant amount of sound to it, and that added a lot for me. I think that Knack may be the new generation answer to that game, but I think Knack is more intricate than what Rayman Legends is going to be. And I didn't play any of the previous Raymans, and they build it as a reboot of a dead series or a very old series, and I don't even remember series. So definitely check out this game if you're looking for something with the kids, or if none of anything else that we've talked about tonight has piqued your interest. Check out Rayman Legends. That looked like a lot of fun to me. I will be purchasing that game.
Well, I've actually played a demo of this on the Wii U, and I thought it was great on the Wii U because the way you use the gamepad within the game, it added just like a whole complete aspect. Because there was this one part where I went into like this giant circle maze, and I had to use the gamepad to navigate through it, and just little things like that. And you're right. I remember one of the levels that I tried out was I had to rush through this level as fast as I could, but as I was going and jumping, it was different parts of the music that was happening, so I was almost controlling the music in the background while I'm playing this game. So there's a lot of cool things about it, and just from my experience on the Wii U, if I had a Wii U, I'd probably get it for the Wii U just because I thought it was really fun to use with the multi-screens and the gamepad. So it's definitely a cool platformer that I think will do well.
Cool. Ubisoft.
I have one game.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say one game that, because I'm a fan of the series. love it so much, is Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Do you know much about that, or do you follow Metal Gear Solid at all?
I didn't. I played Metal Gear on PS1.
Metal Gear, like the Nintendo one?
I don't remember. I never got much out of the training. I wasn't much into it. I don't remember why. But I did write down some things about it, but I didn't feel that it was a big enough awesome game or a bad enough, oh, that's terrible to bring up. But I did see the trailer.
Yeah, and the way I feel about it is I think the game's going to be phenomenal. I think all the games are phenomenal. I mean, all the Metal Gear Solid games. Metal Gear Solid 3 being probably one of my all-time favorite games, hands down. That's saying a lot. But with Metal Gear Solid 5, what we saw today, I think it was at Microsoft, they showed a demo. Actually, I think they started with it. And it was open world. So that's a first for the series because it's been generally pretty linear. I don't know how I feel about the open world because I feel like the game plays better linear because it's a very story-driven game and the story will literally blow your mind because it's so hard to understand. But I think they're going with this new console generation, it being very open world, and I think there's going to be a lot of cool things you can do with it. And I still think it'll be very story-driven, but they're going to let you control the story a little bit more. So I think it'll be really cool, and all the games, I recommend them. If you like a good story, especially Metal Gear Solid 3, even though you have to play the first two to play them, or you'll miss some things, but I think they're great games, and this one looks to keep up with that high bar. I'm looking forward to that one. That one will be a day one purchase for me.
Cool deal. The game that I can't believe we forgot to mention or talk about, and I've actually used it as a standard for a couple of these other judgments, is Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. Did you catch those trailers? Man, it's like Pirates meets Assassin's Creed. I haven't played the Assassin's Creed 3. I was going to get 3, but I didn't because I got Borderlands 2. And I'm okay with that purchase. Borderlands 2 won Best Shooter of the Year for last year.
That was a great game.
It's great game. I kind of feel like I missed out on 3, and I'm really considering getting 4. My oldest son loves pirates. Both of them actually love pirates, but I'm thinking that I'm hoping this is a game that I can let them play. I don't know enough about it. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Did you play the Assassin's Creed series?
I started the first one, and I've heard so much about the series. It didn't draw me in. One of the things I plan on doing this summer is catching up, playing through all of them, if I can manage to do it, because I know I'm missing out on some great things. But this game, again, it looks open world. You can sail to different islands. I think it looks cool. I know there was some gripes about like some of the story and some of the gameplay features, I think, in Assassin's Creed 3, so I hope they fix that. I don't know what exactly they are, but it seems like this game has a lot of promise, and it can make up for the disappointment, I guess, that some people had in Assassin's Creed 3.
I sure hope so. It really looks like it was hard for me to not buy Assassin's Creed 3, and I didn't. Like I said, I didn't. And then I heard bad reviews. Apparently there were bugs, or it was something about controlling your guy, and then the story being a disconnect. So I was like, well, I'll take these very minor complaints, in my opinion, and I'll just use those to tell myself that I don't want the game bad enough to go to purchase it. I'm thinking Assassin's Creed 4 is one that I'm gonna have to get because of the way the trailers are done right for this game. They all show something a little bit different, and they look really good. And if you notice, there are small references that go straight back to Pirates of the Caribbean. Like the name of the ship promoted in one is the Jack or the Jackdaw or something like that, which I also understand is for a donkey. But and there was another huge not Call of Duty, Pirates of the Caribbean reference that I saw somewhere else. It was just like blatant. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I think it's really shaping up to be a very good game.
hoping.
And it seems like they're taking the best of all that they've done in the previous Assassin's Creed games and adding a lot of new features that I think are going to be worthy of a purchase.
True. Have you? I know you've been limited on what you've been able to see from E3 so far, but are you satisfied with what you've seen so far? Do you like what you're seeing? Are you happy with what the game consoles, with the war that they're fighting with each other?
Yeah, I mean overall, I'm very excited. I'm curious to know what's going to happen with used games. That's one of my big questions that I have, because Microsoft going with the DRM, the potential blockage on used games. Sony's saying no, you can do whatever you want. I want to know how that's going to play out in the long run. It seems like that Microsoft will come out on top once we go to a digital distribution, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to get ahead of the game.
I think it's inevitable.
But I want to see Sony succeed. I mean, I'm not a Sony fanboy, quote unquote, if you want to call it that, by any means. But you got to admit they have some quality games that come out. They have a lot of great, talented studios under their wing, and I want to see them do the right things. And I think they did that today. They came out and they did what they had to do to position themselves at the forefront of gamers' minds when they go to make that first next-gen console purchase. And some of the games we're seeing, I think it's interesting to go to that open world genre that seems to be trending in all the upcoming games. I'm excited for that because I don't have a lot of experience in that, since I'm not a very big PC gamer. And I get to watch videos of people doing that, and you see it all the time on like Twitch TV. And I'm excited to be a part of that, and I'm hoping to, just dive right in and meet some new people, and maybe even have like I hate to use clan because it's so cliche, but just like a group of people we can just hop in a game, whether it be Destiny or any of those big MMO type games, and just go around and just do stuff. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I made a video asking. I called the Xbox One reveal a fail, and then I had to immediately make a response. Like I didn't make that public for 10 minutes. I was already recording the response to the comments. What I said in the video. So actually, I don't have any idea why the Elgato stopped capturing at this point. But what I said in that video was that I wanted something better, and I didn't know what the better was. And it seems like the better that we're going to get is that what's better is the mass online. And what's better after that, I don't know. But we're going to find out, and the consoles are doing great things. Now, we had about another 10 minutes of video or audio after that, but for some reason it's gone. I can't figure out how to get it back. It's an MPEG-2 TS video file, and I don't know. It's the backup ghost recording for the Elgato, and apparently I don't have the settings right. But you've made it over 2 hours in. I really appreciate you being here for all of this content, and there wasn't much after I finished explaining this video other than us saying good night and a couple other thoughts on maybe another game or two, but we were really wrapping it up right here. Thanks for being around this far, and we really appreciate you being here with 3-Bar Exploits for episode 3 because it's so long. Thank you truly, and have a great day.